synagogue, temple, mosque, or any other place of worship would remain safe. Hence, the Muslims were permitted to fight back not only to save Islam, but to save religion itself on the basis of the aforementioned verse. In light of this, you can understand for yourself how utterly wrong the so-called Muslims of today are when they claim that it is permissible to kill non-Muslims, to seize their lands, or to enslave them. The reality is that Islam is that religion which has guaranteed the right of every individual to live with liberty and freedom. And Islam is that religion which has guaranteed the right of every individual to live in peace and harmony regardless of their faith or background. I mentioned earlier how the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, migrated to Medina along with his followers, and the manner in which the Muslims absorbed themselves into the local society was a perfect model of how to immigrate and integrate into a new society. Before the Muslims arrived, there were two main groups who lived in the city of Medina, the Jews and the Arabs. Upon the arrival of the Muslims, there became three groups: the Muslims, the Jews, and the non-Muslim Arabs. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, immediately stated that it was essential that they all live together in peace and harmony. And so he proposed a covenant of peace between them. According to the terms of this treaty, each group and each tribe was given their due rights. The lives and wealth of all parties was guaranteed, and any pre-existing inter-tribal customs were also respected. It was also agreed that if any person came from Mecca with the intention of causing harm or mischief, he would not be provided sanctuary by anyone in Medina, and nor would they enter into any pact with them. Further, if a common enemy attacked Medina, all three groups would join together and defend the city as one. Although it was also stipulated that non-Muslims would not be forced to fight alongside Muslims if the latter were ever attacked or fight outside of Medina. Furthermore, any agreements the Jews had with other groups would be honored by the Muslims. The Jews would live by their religion and the Muslims would live by their religion. When all three groups accepted the terms of this agreement, it was also agreed through mutual consent that the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, would serve as head of the state. Nonetheless, and as I said before, the Jews would not be bound to the Sharia, but would be bound only by Jewish laws and customs. This was the perfect example of tolerance and mutual respect of the Holy Founder of Islam, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him. And yet, today ISIS claims that Sharia law must be enforced to every person, no matter their religion or background. At that time, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, also established the rights of women within the covenant. He clearly stipulated that no woman was to be forcibly removed from her home or against her will. Thus, how can it be right for ISIS to claim that non-Muslim women can be considered their possessions or chattels? According to the covenant, no person would ever be compelled to accept Islam, but rather it expressly stated that the Jews and the non-Muslims of Medina would be treated with love and compassion and as brothers by the Muslims. Therefore, this is a summary of the treaty which bound together the society of Medina following the arrival of the Muslims. History bears witness to the fact that the Muslims followed this agreement to the letter, and if the covenant was ever breached, it was done by the other parties. As the accepted leader of Medina, sometimes the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, would have to deal with individuals or groups who had breached the covenant or been involved in wrongdoing, but such reprimands were given fairly according to the terms of the covenant and not due to any injustice. Thus, this is the true manifestation of the government in Islam, whose foundation was laid by the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, and following him was continued by the 4 rightly guided Khalifas and throughout the first century of Islam. And so today, if ISIS or any Muslim government acts against these principles of true justice and equality, then they are doing so only to fulfill their own personal or political interests. Even if they claim to act